Hi everyone, Mrs. Glenicki here, recording my first tutorial ever, so hopefully I don't sound too much like a dork. But the first tutorial is teaching you how to make pings. But before I do that, I thought this was a pretty funny image I saw online. American Gothic, old couple, doing social distancing. Kind of funny. Hope you're all doing well. And that you're semi-glad to start school up this week. All right, so we're going to get right into it. The program you're going to use is called Pixlr.com editor. So when you get to Google, whatever search engine you're using, you want to write Pixlr editor, and it'll be probably the first one. Should look like something like this. Might be a little different, but I'm pretty sure everyone should see the same thing. Scroll all the way down, and there'll be two things you can use. Use the easier one, so use Pixlr X. If you use the E, your tools are going to look different, and I'm not ready to teach that right now. So we're going to use the simpler one called Pixlr X. Click it to launch, and this should be what your home page looks like. Before I get going, just want to show you what the difference between a JPEG and a PNG is. JPEG has all the background stuff. So even if I got rid of all the sky here, it would turn white, and then it would have the bounding box, and we'd have no creative layering opportunities. This cow here has the entire background removed, so now I could put him anywhere, and he would overlap whatever I want them to overlap. So that's what our goal is for this whole unit, including your abstract portraits and your surrealism collages. We're going to get rid of the backgrounds on everything. So that's, just wanted you to know the difference. JPEG, PNG. All right, so I'm going to go back to editor, and you're going to go to open image. I don't know where you saved your selfies, so you'll have to figure that out on your own. I like creating folders, and so on my desktop, so if you look over here, I have desktop and mini folders. I have some that are lazy and didn't file, but I have my Mandala unit for 6th graders, and now I have my Pixlr unit. That's where I put my photographs. Be very, very careful when you save your work and so forth. A lot of students just randomly just say, yep, save, but they don't know where the heck they're putting it. So they might be putting it in documents or pictures or just the PC. Please, please, please pay attention. If you're going to save it to Google Drive, save it to Google Drive. If you're going to save it to your desktop, save it to your desktop. I don't care what you do, maybe a flash drive, but please always save to the same place and remember where you put it. All right, so mine is on Pixlr. I'm going to open it, and I have lots of stuff that I've already made. So I'm going to try to make this the fastest tutorial possible. I took a selfie 2 different days for various projects. So I'm going to pick the harder one to edit. And this will be this one. Okay. When you pick your image, you just pick whatever's default. So right now, this screen, just do full screen. So right now, I got a JPEG. And all the empty space in the background, which is called negative space, we don't want it. So our goal is to start some editing. Pixlr is kind of like Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop, maybe you've heard of it. It's an expensive art program. This is free, but it's pretty comparable, at least for basic art abilities. The first task I want you to do after you open your image, go over to your layers, and I believe this is default, so it should come up right away. If not, I don't know where the layers button is. They should say layers, view. I'll get back to you on that, but I think it'll show up automatically. See the lock here? Unlock it. That means you have some editing abilities later. Trust me, just do it. Then over here on the left, there are your tools that you're going to use. You have your home, but we're going to get back into my picture, and possibly your tools will be along the top or the bottom. But anyway, mine are on the left. The tools you're going to use for today's activity, the cursor, which helps you move things around, the crop tool, which will help you cut out big areas quickly, and then your cut tool, which is all your editing tools that will allow you to remove the backgrounds in your image. So the first thing is why I don't want a huge file when I'm working later on. So I'm going to make that file size smaller by cropping in right away. So I'm going to just zoom in as close as I can to my face and my body, but I do want to leave a little bit of shoulders showing. So there I am. After you've cropped in what you want, push enter, and there you go. The next task is to start getting rid of the backgrounds. You want to go to the scissors tool. Just think cut away the background, scissors. There are 4 things you can use to start erasing the background, so to speak, cutting it. The first one is shapes. Sometimes it's very easy to use that to get rid of large areas. So I'm going to click it, and I'm going to make sure I have my rectangle. Then I'm just going to click and drag big areas. Now I'm going to make a mistake on purpose. Right now I clicked it and it cut the wrong thing out because I have it on keep. So what I want to do is make sure I always am making sure my mode is on remove. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to make sure it's on remove. Now I'll go to my shape tool. Click and drag as close as you can to wherever you want. And then see how it turns to checkerboards? That is an indicator you did something correct. So you can get rid of background using shapes. The second way to get rid of background is a magic wand. I love this one because it's a quick way to get rid of areas that have the same color. So right now the ceiling color is all the same. So I would just make sure I have that clicked. And before I start getting rid of things in the background of my image, I want to make sure that I have my softness selected. If you don't, if you keep it on none, eventually you might see a jagged edge around whatever you're trying to cut. You may not see it here, but when you place it into an environment or your art collages later, it's going to look sloppy. So pick light. You could pick medium, but light is good enough. And now what I'm going to do is make sure it's on remove and just click. See? Quick way to get rid of everything that's the same color. So you could do that for most of your project, especially if you took your selfie in front of a door or a solid colored wall. That would be a good tool to use the wand. However, wand is kind of tricky because the background color was similar to my hat. So when I clicked it, it got rid of my hat. So that's when you probably will start thinking about using a different tool. The next tool is a paintbrush. And once you click it, you're going to have a red dot come up if it's removed. If you leave it on keep, it's going to be green. And I'll show you the difference of these two in a second. So the paintbrush tool to remove, you just think of it as an eraser. Okay. Now, once you get really detailed work, you want to zoom in. Let's say I want to work in the shoulder area, but when I zoom in on my mouse, I might miss where I want to work. So then over to where it says navigate, probably on the right side of your screen, move your rectangle around to wherever you want to work. Well, let's change my mind. I want to go work around my hat. So now I will double check brushes selected, and you could change the size of your brush. Like if you have big areas to paint, pick a big brush. I have some detailed work, so I want to make sure my brush is a little smaller. And then so I'm going to start brushing away. I do suggest that when you're doing this, you do small areas at a time. Because if you make a mistake, you wasted a lot of time. You have to go back and redo what you just did. Okay. So as you get closer and closer, you could change the size of your brushes and so forth. Okay. I'm not going to waste your time doing this complete right now. The last tool that can help get rid of the background is called a lasso tool. Lasso is basically selecting big areas at a time. It's also nice to get as close as you want to something. So again, I'm going to ask myself, do I have remove? Yep. Do I have my softness on light? Nope. So I'm going to do that now. And now I can just start tracing around whatever you want the background image to get rid of. Again, do small sections at a time. This earring. And then, boom. Again, I really strongly suggest you do small areas at a time. Okay. Whoops. But anyway, that's how you do it. Okay. For time reasons, I'm not going to finish this one, so I'm going to push pause and come back to you in a sec. So here's a finished version. All my background is nicely cut out. I'm ready to save it. Please pay attention to how you save your work. You're going to click the blue button. Obviously it says save. You want to name it. Name it whatever you want. So I'm going to name it Angela. And then I like to put capital PNG with it. The reason I like to put the PNG in the file names, it just makes it easier to find my images later to make sure I got the pings. So it's optional, but it says ping on the end. But believe me, it makes life easier by just putting PNG in your file name. Second task, make sure I actually have it set on ping. So yes, there's ping here, and I have it selected here. Good to go. Download. After you've downloaded it, you want to open it up. Okay. Toward the top, you'll see 3 dots. Click it, and you want to save as. Don't neglect this step because you have to put it somewhere. Before it was just downloaded. Now you have to save it to your folders. So it's a 2-step process to save your work. I want to make sure I have my folder selected. So it says desktop tutorial folder. So I have the correct one. But let's pretend that I had PC selected. You just say yes without looking at the menu bar up here. You're going to be out of luck. So I'm going to make sure I have desktop, Pixlr, make sure my name's on there, my ping, and I'm good to go. Okie doke. That's your first task for the day. So you're going to take your selfie and then upload it to Pixlr, get rid of all the background, and save it. The next tutorial will be much, much shorter. So I'll see you in a bit.